In this game, I want to show an example of how to play teamfights as an offlaner when you should treat yourself more like a carry. I think Dogster is a very good example of a hero that, not that he doesn't want to go in, but that it's very, very important that you don't die. I think that your spells have a very low cooldown. Like the vacuum and the ion shell has a very low cooldown, and usually you buy a lot of auras, but you're not like this Tide Hunter or this Underlord that's like naturally extremely tanky. So you want to make sure that you have a position that's like far back, but that you're still in range to cast spells. There's like a fine balance of being too far away from the fight and not being able to have any impact, and being a little bit too far in and letting the enemy team jump you. I know that in a competitive game they're going to be talking about like who is my target in the fight, who do we want to kill, and probably this lifestealer who is getting very sad getting kited because all his targets are getting surged, he's saying like kill Darkseid, he's like very important, or they're saying like kill Storm Spirits, he's very important. So I know that I need to stay back because I'm like a high value target, and what that means is in a fight other people are going to have to go in. Now luckily in a competitive game it's very easy to communicate and understand this, but maybe if you're playing a ranked game and you're playing offlane, maybe people still expect you to run first. So it's important to tell maybe your position 4 or maybe your mid hero if they have a blink stun to say like you guys initiate, I combo or something like that, like I stay back, you go in, just to lay out like a clearer expectation of what people are supposed to do. You can watch the teamfight that I'm staying very far back. I'm trying to stay out, especially of the enemy's vision. When my storm runs in, I'm forced to run in to connect to the teamfight. But luckily there's no like heroes here going on me. It's just a bunch of creeps, so I'm not really in trouble. But I do end up being too far away from the fight, so I feel like I have to surge myself in. In general, I would much rather use Surge on my Sven. That's like my goal in these teamfights, is just use my auras, use my Surge on my Sven, make sure my Ion Shell is up. It gives 350 max health, so it's like a big buff to my team's HP pools as well, and then wait for the perfect vac wall combo. Due to the teamfight being so far away, I surge in, however, and I feel I have a good opportunity. Sometimes if nothing would really be happening, maybe it's not that important for me to surge in, but because the teamfight is like ongoing and they are grouping up, I really, really want to go in. I managed to catch the Zeus as well. It's sometimes important to know like in which way your teamfights, your spells are going to have the most impact. In some games the wall, maybe I just want to throw it on one guy. Maybe the enemy team is like a Phantom Lancer, and the only like important hero for me is to catch with him. In a game like this, we have a lot of AoE, and they have heroes that we really want to catch, like Zeus and Shaker. It's usually better for me just to use the vac to try and catch these heroes. That's like my goal. Like I want to try and suck these heroes into the team fight so they can't stand outside and deal damage. And then I'm mostly just using the wall as like a slow tool, or as like a way to create more chaos and confusion. So you can see I'm kind of waiting with going in until I know that I can catch more heroes. My tiniest calling is going to jump Zeus. So when I see it, or you're probably not going to know beforehand when it happens, but when you see that you can catch a hero that is like playing backline, like maybe the enemy's Oracle, maybe their supports like Earthshaker or the mid Zeus, that's like your target to go in a lot of the time. This fight is going to be very easy for us. Previously we were a little bit far behind and they were about to go high ground, but because everyone managed to do their job and they managed to not find an initiation, they struggle and they all get wiped. Another example of when things go poorly is if you're playing this carry role and you're playing Darkseid and you want to make sure to stay alive. If you do get it initiated on first and you do die, I'll just show you how quickly like things turn sour. It's very, very important that you stay alive to get your spells off, to keep your auras up. That's like the most impact you have. You're not really a hero that wants to soak, you're not really a hero that deals damage, but you do have a lot of like utility with your spells. I walk out through a ward. Unfortunately, they have this ward, which we don't know about. So I think that I'm safe here, but I'm not. They also have Beastmaster Hawk Vision. So instead of walking this way, I think this is very risky and greedy when it comes to team fighting. I know that there are 5, so it's like a fight might happen at any point. It's much more important to think of my positioning, and I should probably be standing like behind my Sven, ideally closer to my base. Somewhere over here I think would be my like ideal positioning here. I search back the base because I'm like, oh, I'm kind of scared. And I get roared and Zeus bolted and I'm completely dead. My Sven gets jumped, however, and in this moment I buy back right away because I know that if my carry is getting jumped and he's dying, it's really, really bad for us. He also has no buyback, so I kind of have the feeling if we lose this game, if he dies, we will lose this game. Because I have my mech and my pipe and I have like the vac and the combo, I feel like maybe I can save this guy. In some games, if you're playing like, I guess like a Doom or a hero that only wants to go on one guy, your counter initiation is not that strong, or like it's more important that you find the jump But in games when you're playing like this big teamfight heroes like Underlord or Tide or Darkseid or Enigma especially, you would rather counter-initiate, and it's actually a good thing for you if they go on other people in your team and not on you. So you can see here that he is about to die, but then the Guardian Greaves, the mech and the pipe comes in and I can search him out of the teamfight. In an ideal world as well, me dying and using a buyback would have been a really good bait opportunity, where like they expose themselves, maybe we can jump the Zeus and we get a really good teamfight going. Unfortunately, because we were not coordinated and we were not prepared, this is how things ended up being. But potentially, like in another world, it would have been a really good scenario for me to get jumped and to use my buyback if I would have communicated with my team and we were all prepared for it. In this example, I'm playing Batrider, which is a very fun hero for me to play. I think that his initiation tool is really, really strong with the Flaming Lasso. 4 seconds of you like jumping a carry and dragging him out towards your team. It's very satisfying when things go well. I think that when you play heroes like Bat or Doom, or these heroes that have this single target, like very strong teamfight ability, you really want to make sure that you jump the right target at the right time. In my mind, there's 2 heroes that I want to go on. There's Terrorblade and there's Enigma. Now Enigma has an Aeon Disc, and I know this because I've clicked his items, so I kind of know that jumping him is a little bit out of the question. He can just disassemble his recipe, or assemble his item rather, and as soon as he takes any damage, it's going to dispel my lasso. I do know that this TB, no Aeon Disc, and also there's no save from my lasso in this game. Usually maybe there's an Oracle or Avenge, and you need to respect that, and then maybe you want to be rather jumping them or wait for them to die. But in a lineup like this, there's no saving from my lasso, which means that whoever I go on, realistically is gonna being dragged from here to over here. And because TB is their most farmed hero, and is a hero that's gonna output damage, he's like my target or my goal. So knowing that, I know like if I can lasso the TB, I'm just gonna jump in. I have Blink and a Force Staff. I also have a Linken's, so it's very hard for them to counter-initiate on me. Really, the only way for them to stop me from killing the TB would be for this Enigma to blink in a Black Hole right away. But then we have this Venge that can cover me, and usually in most scenarios, if you're playing position 3 and you're getting Black Holed or Doomed or lassoed yourself, that means you're gonna end up ahead because they're not using that on your course or the position 1 and position 2. So I'll show you quickly what it looks like. When you go high ground as well, especially with Batrider, it's a really good idea to smoke yourself. These heroes, they want to find the perfect initiation, like Doom and Bat. It's always about vision, so you know like the hero where you're going. You need to see him, obviously. You can't just jump in blind. If you jump in blind, you're gonna get stunned or hit. You're gonna get you're not gonna be able to find the target. Instead, I ask my Luna to give vision. He has long night vision with his aura, and as soon as I see the TB, I just start fireflying towards him. Maybe I start pinging him even, and I just drag him straight into my team, and he dies. So while this looks like very simple and like free, like they can't do anything about it, it takes like a lot of patience and knowing what target you want to go on, so that when the opportunity presents itself, you have to be really ready. If you're impatient and maybe I jump a Enchantress or a Clockwork, even if they don't have buyback, they're like a lot lower value, and then maybe we'll lose a team fight because the TB is alive and dealing damage. To summarize, when you team fight, you want to think about a few things. First and foremost, you want to make sure that if you're playing an initiator, that you're the team that's initiating. You don't want to get gone on, you don't want to get your blink cancelled. It's really bad for you, like let's say I'm playing Batrider and they go on me, I'm never going to have any impact. The hero I'm lassoing is probably like at most going to be a Clockwork, it's not like a high value target. What I want to do is I want to make sure I time my initiation and I find the right jump. On other heroes, you have to play differently. You have to adapt to your own heroes, to like your lineups and the items that you have. A second thing to think about is that usually your carry is the hero you want to keep alive for the longest. That means that if somebody has to go in, like it usually has to be you. You're putting yourself at risk, of course, when you initiate. You're like the hero that's closest to the enemy team and the target for them to go on. But by doing that, that means that they also can't go on your carry. That's usually the goal in teamfights, to make sure that your carry can output as much damage as possible. If I'm playing a hero like Tyrant or Underlord, usually I stay near my carry and near my supports, whatever targets they want to go on, and we make sure we grouped up and we play tanky. Playing Batrider or Doom, usually I play a little bit further away, like on the outskirts of the team fights, not really together with the ball, so that I can find the right jump without getting gone on myself. I would say I probably treat myself as a carry more so than the carry until I can get my spells off, and after that I don't really care that much. Playing heroes like Axe or Centaur that have low cooldown stuns, I think Stardar are a very good example. You want to go in and poke and use your spells, and then you want to reset and go back again. Heroes with longer teamfight ultimates, it's usually better to stay in the fight until you win it or until you die. By staying in the fight until you die, I mean like maybe you can go back if you're 100 HP or 200 HP, but usually you want to make sure that you tank and soak so your carry can output damage. The last thing is if you're very farmed and you have a lot of items, maybe you should treat yourself a little bit more higher. If you're very underfarmed and maybe you only have a blink and a stun, like you understand that by staying in the fight, I don't do anything, I'm just going to blink and stun. Or maybe you understand by going back, it's not that important for me, I have no items, like it's better that I just jump in and die. And then the heroes that do have items and they do output damage can stay alive and get vision and win the team fight for me instead.